So I'd like to introduce Lucian and Maëlly, and they will present an AI assistant in the life of a search engine administrator. So it perfectly fits the talk before, I think.
Okay, so we'll try to be brief because I think this is the last talk, and we are all eager to see the lightning talks and the bar camp. So I'm here with Maëlly. Maëlly unfortunately couldn't be here physically, but she's with us thanks to the great technology that we have today. So we hope it works. We'll just do a test. Maëlly, can you let's just like say hello or something?
Hello, everyone.
Okay, we can hear you well. Great. Sorry? Okay. Yeah, so we don't have an output for the sound from here, so we'll just hear Maëlly in the speakers. Okay, let's move on. If we can. Yes, so we are Delian. We are a consulting company. We also have a product that's called A2, which is a vertical on top of Elasticsearch and OpenSearch on e-commerce. And yeah, we will be presenting a talk about the life of a search engine administrator. And actually the seed of this talk is back at Berlin Buzzwords in 2022. Back then we presented what's the life of a search engine administrator. In this talk, we will like try to take advantage of the new technologies that are out there. So yeah, between 2022 and now we have ChatGPT that arrived and LLMs and all that. So we will try to see how we can improve the life of the search engine administrator with these new technologies. So we will have two use cases here that we will show: automating actions and then using analytics and machine learning to bring insights. Okay, so first, just a recap of what's to be a search engine administrator. And yes, Maëlly, just don't hesitate to interrupt me when you need. Yeah, I think it's up.
A search engine is a living thing, so you need to constantly adjust the configuration of your search engine each and every day. And things like seasonality, stocks, business needs, user expectation, news, like what's happening in the world, impact your search engine, and it needs a constant adjustment.
Yes, and depending on the use case, the adjustments are not the same. In e-commerce, you focus on business relevance. In enterprise search, you focus on productivity, and so on. It depends on the use case. Yes, so when talking about configuring, like Maëlly said, reconfiguring your search engine each and every day, you have to take into account several things. You have to take into account the content, the data that's in your search engine that might change. You can have to take into account the domain knowledge, your users also, how do you know the users, and also the technology that's the core search technology that you're using.
And as a search engine administrator, you will need to focus on different KPIs, like the number of zero results, to improve customer satisfaction or your profits. Eventually, they translate into technical action that you have to do on your search, and all of them combined bring you to the success of your search engine. And you, as a search administrator, like I said, you will have to work with a different actor of your company, like developers, product owner, business owner also, and with this, you will have also to work with the customer.
And if your search solution is like a little more advanced, you will not just work with people, you will also have tools that's available for you as a search engine administrator. So instead of asking a developer to add a synonym, for example, you can have an administration console that will allow you to do that directly. ideally, let's say. And again, instead of asking the data team to give you analytics and reports on how the search engine is used, hopefully you have some dashboards that gives you access to that directly. So if you have that tool, it's usually like not necessarily one and single tool, but it's something that can be called business console, and it's a tool that ideally connects to all the bricks in your search architecture. So something like that one, the business console that you see there. And as I said, it might be one unique tool, but it might be also plenty of modules that you're using. So for example, you can use a tool that allows you to configure your search engine, a tool that allows you to monitor your search engine, so to see the logs, to see how the search is used, a tool that allows you to pilot your search engine, like to say, okay, re-index or delete that product from the index because there's a problem with it and we have to stop selling it and stuff like that. You have a tool that allows you to debug what's happening with your search, to understand the relevancy, to understand how the score is computed, and all that. And last but not least, some satellite tools that will allow you, for example, to test the non-regression of configuration changes, or tools that will allow to will suggest synonyms, for example.
So here are a few examples of how I use a business console. First, for developing process, I test the user search, visualize the data, compare the relevant score, ensure the non-regression. This is a screen that helped me debug. It's like a mirror of the results of the user search. I have the score and how is it computed on the right, and this is the debug tools.
I realized that the image is kind of not very blurry here. So the right thing there is the score and the detail of the score in terms of this is Lucian. So you have how Lucian computed the score.
And here are the configuration screen. So for this one, for example, let me configure facets. I can add facets, change the order of values by boosting a specific one, for example. And here, this is the tools that allow me to test the non-regression. We can see how the new configuration impacts the search results. Here is an example. We can see how many ranks each product gained or lost with the new configuration.
Okay, so now let's try to improve the day-to-day life of a search engine administrator. So you might say, can we replace the search engine administrator with AI? That's the first thing to say. Let's say, okay, there's no search engine administrator anymore. The search engine reconfigures itself. It like magically takes into account the user data, the logs and all that. And you have a constant reconfiguration based on that. But actually, our conclusion on that, because we tried to add some automatic configuration with learning to rank in this case, it's not that easy. I mean, we are not there anymore already in e-commerce. So it might work in other domains, but in e-commerce, so first you don't have a lot of data in your indices, even like 10,000 documents or 100,000 documents is still small compared to what you need for machine learning and stuff. And you cannot compete with a business people that knows the business and knows what's happening out there and knows that I have to make a boost on that brand from that date to that date because that's what's happening there and stuff like that. So yeah, we cannot replace the search engine administrator with AI. You could even maybe replace it with a mechanical Turk. So this is a talk that we gave at Buzzwords in 2021. That would be a replacement, but it's still a human behind the so-called AI.
So that's kind of easy. I need my search to be my search engine to be like Google, and I need my business console to be like ChatGPT.
Yes, great. So let's see how we can implement that.
So let's be more serious. Here are some examples of things that I would like to automate. It's like adding synonym, boosting, adding or removing some description fields, or automating testing search relevance on my search engine.
Yes. Do you know what's happening from September 21 to October 6? No? Okay. Great.
And maybe the system can also notify me when some events occur and give me suggestions on how to modify the configuration when the improvement is obvious or follow a no pattern.
Great. So let's see how we can implement this. So we have large language models that are kind of helpful, and there's the first one. So this request from Maëlly is simple to implement actually today, because it's just automating API calls. So you have humans that tell the machine what to do in plain words, so natural language, and then the LLM will translate this request into an API call, which is just code. And LLMs are pretty good at that, to generate code. Actually, we have our job interviews, we have tests, and actually LLMs pass these tests very well. So yeah, and the second one, it's kind of different, but we will see that also. So LLMs work like that. This is just a history of how we implemented that. So it's an AI assistant that we plugged on top of the search engine itself, not on the administration console, but the principle is the same. You just translate the natural language to API calls, and then you just call the API. So you need APIs, that's for sure, but yeah. And why LLMs? Because they understand the human language very well, and they can also automate tasks here by generating code. Actually, they do not really automate, but they can generate code. The key here is, so this is taken from the talk that I mentioned earlier. The key here is that for you to identify what we call utterances, which are examples of calls that you will ask your search engine, your LLM. So, for example, the three examples that Maëlly made, which are these are three utterances, different utterances. And based on those, you detect the intent of the user, the intention, what the user wants to do. The administrator wants to add a synonym, to add a boost, to remove a field from the searchable fields, and so on. And then you generate the API. So this is not new. I mean, not new. We are not the only one to try to do this. Who here knows OpenSearch Dashboards? Yeah, and there's a tool that, so for those of you that do not know OpenSearch Dashboards, it's a tool that allows you to do that data analysis. Okay, so you can have dashboards like this. And there's a tool that allows you to actually so when you do dashboards like this, you have to write code like this one. So in order to produce results like this, you have to write code like this one, which is kind of technical. Okay, so not everybody can, you have to learn the syntax and all that. But you can have this assistant that will just take your input, which is in natural language, and translate it into a code like this. And this is pretty simple for LLMs. And then just launch the query and display the results. So in this case, you see the assistant that's available up there. You have the results down there, and in the middle you have even an insight that like does the summary of the thing. And this is also available in Kibana, in the Elastic Stack, and it's kind of the same thing. You ask the query up there, so show me the errors in my logs, and then you have code that's generated, and you have a button that you can press to launch this code. Okay, so pretty simple. It's already, I mean, implemented. And let's try to do the same thing with the business console that Maëlly showed in the beginning. So let's try to add this boost. So actually the API code is like this. It's kind of cryptical. You have to, like, I mean, it's difficult to understand what it does, but LLMs understand very well this code. You would be amazed by the facility that LLMs have to explain you what the code does. And they can really generate an API call like this based on natural language. So the API call is actually add a boost on brand name when the brand is that value, and when the trigger is the search text beer. And then we also have some other parameters like matching mode synonyms, because you want also synonyms to match and all that, but that's a detail. And then begin date, and then this is the API call. Yeah, so pretty simple. Step one, you call the LLM. Step two, you call the API with the result that the LLM gave you.
Great.
Yes.
Yeah, how it works. So I will share my screen as well. Can you see it?
Yes.
So now I have an assistant button on my administration UI. I can ask it to make change to the configuration. For example, here I need to add a boost on a specific brand from September 21st to October 6th, the example we saw before. The system generates the proper API call and launch the configuration and the configuration change.
Yes. So pretty simple. We just like display for debug purposes I will just change so we are pushing the technology to the limit, but let's resume the presentation. Yes. Yeah, so I think, yeah, this is the first use case that we kind of implemented. There's a missing link here, like a small one, which is the fact that, okay, we automate the API call and all that, but how do we know that we don't have the regressions? Because I mean, as a human, you can also make mistakes, but here you have an additional link. So ideally, you should test that the configuration is good. So we will not enter into these details, but you can find them in this talk that we gave at Haystack, which is a talk about how to automate the verification of a new configuration. Okay, so we are using things like Cupid to compare the results from the last time from the configuration 1 to configuration 2, and you can see that the relevance improved or not, and so on. Okay, so let's go to the second query that Maëlly had, which was kind of different, and it was so Maëlly asked for the system to inform us that we need to do some modifications into the search engine configuration. Okay. So for example, The second one, which is the synonym there, is kind of easy because you have tools like you have models that you can use and then can suggest synonyms. Okay, and you just have to monitor the zero results queries, and when you find a zero result query, you just automate it. You just don't ask questions. You take the term that was searched for. You launch this tool, you launch this API, you get the proposed synonyms that are down there. And with these synonyms, you will launch the previous tool that will test the engine and the non-regression. And you will see that a synonym fits well there. And you say, okay, I think that to fix this zero results query, we should add this synonym. Okay. We will not enter into the details of how this is implemented, but you can see you can go to the GitHub repository there. We will focus on another use case, which was this one. The first one, where you have noise in the search results. Okay, so in this example, you have long tails. So the first page might be very relevant, but if you have a long tail of like not bad results, but less relevant results, they can pop up in the first position via the facets. So the facets can bring them up.
So here is a search for sugar, like you can see. All the search results are correct because the search engine is correctly configured, but there is some noise due to the long tail of results. You have fruit juice or biscuits on the left, as facets, and they are correct from lexical point of view, but not from the business point of view. And for some of them, we have products that are without sugar, which are completely irrelevant.
Yes, so.
And here is the result, which is ideally correct. You have a search for sugar, you have sugar used for cooking, you also have the facets are more relevant compared to the noise that we previously had.
Yes. So in order to implement this, you obviously work on the precision of your search, you can use machine learning, and it's pretty straightforward. It's just not just a linear regression, but almost. You just have to look at the search results and on the clicks, on what happens with the search results. So for example, it's very easy to notice things like this. So these are taken from the real life. So Carrefour is the largest grocery store, online grocery store in France. And for example, for the search, which is the extreme one, when you search for sugar, only 8% of the results, 8% of the results are in a specific category, which is sugar and sweeteners. And the ones that are added to basket are those. The 92% others are very rarely added to basket when searching for sugar, okay? And this, you just have to do a small machine learning task there to detect this thing. And then when you detect it, you can suggest to the search engine administrator to do something, okay? And if you have patterns to fix these things, in our case, we have a way of doing it, but you can just suggest the modification, and the search engine administrator will do whatever it takes. You can add a redirection, for example, that's one thing to do, but yeah. What we do actually, so yeah, step one, you monitor the clicks, you monitor the search results, you identify the less relevant ones, and then you launch the alert where necessary, and then you can do a step two, which is really call an API to fix that. What we do in this case actually is something that Roman, I don't know if he's still here, but the tomatoes, you know, the tomatoes and irrelevant tomato sauce that were presented this morning. So this is the case, actually. You search for tomatoes, and we had actually a filter, automated filter. When you search for tomatoes, we actually filter for these two categories, and then the results are better. Yeah, so same thing with the sugar. When you search for sugar, we filter automatically on the sugar and sweeteners category, and that's it. Okay, so that concludes our talk. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions?
Thank you for the talk. It was really cool to see. And as far as the first example you showed with the generating the query strings or the API calls, what has been your experience with the LLM in terms of addressing multiple parameters and anticipating what parameters to fill out to do the action?
Yes, so LLMs are very good actually at understanding the human language. So everything that's entity extraction, that's understanding the verb, the phrase, and all that. It's kind of the what they do. So if I go here, yeah. So this is their plus. So they understand very well that. So understanding what's the intent, that's easy, and then understanding the slots, so the parameters that are like disseminated into the phrase that was formulated is kind of great. So we think that this part is really, really great. And then you have the other part, that's code generation, which is, LLMs are really great at understanding code. If you give the LLM a piece of code, it will be able to tell you what the code does. That's for sure. It understands any syntax. You can even say, translate this code from PHP to Java and vice versa, and it works really well. And yeah, so the only thing that can be done, because this code generation, you have the hallucinations, which can occur also with code. So it can generate an API call, which is not really correct. So this is why we plugged this second step, which is testing for non-regressions. Okay, so you actually test configuration 1 compared to configuration 2, and you verify that it didn't break anything. So the LLMs are really good at understanding the parameters, at creating the API call. You just have to have the right prompt for that and to explain the LLM the syntax that you're expecting, and it works really great.
Yeah, that was kind of my question, is as far as like a user that might not know what the API call requires for the parameters, and for them to maybe leave certain things out of the prompt. You have like a loop for that or something to ask a clarifying question?
Yeah, we didn't, in this case, we didn't do a loop, so we don't have that, but actually the things behind this, it's a developer that implements that. So Kibana, they chose to give you the hand on the, so here is the screenshot in Kibana. Kibana actually gives you the hand on the prompt. So you can, as a user, as a search engine administrator, you can modify the prompt, and then you can even break the thing. In our case, we said, okay, the developer will put everything in place, will do all the verifications and all that. The user, which is the search engine administrator, will not be able to access the prompt and to change it and to make modifications. It's just a user of the tool. And if it doesn't work, okay, it doesn't work. They will have just to do the thing manually. But yeah, that's the.
Thank you.
Here you see so this is the screenshot from Kibana. The part that's here is the prompt, and you actually can modify it before launching it. It's pre-filled, but you can modify it.
Hi, thank you for your talk. I realize your efforts in the automating the work of the search administrator and facilitating their life. But as we know, there are a lot of things under the hood, like automate a new Docker image, a new library version, and so on. Are you planning to integrate this kind of automation AI over this search administrator operative, or it's only for the business sides of the company?
It's mostly for the business people, yeah,
Okay.
and especially when there's some turnaround there, and things are kind of like sometimes kind of complex, and you have to learn a syntax, you have to learn where's the screen that does that and that. So it's mostly for business people. But we do have the automation for the non-regression part. So the one that tests config 1 versus config 2. And there you could plug in the changes in the libraries and all that. It's feasible, theoretically. So a change in a library, it's equivalent to a change in the config. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean about the operative in the daily base of a search administrator, that you need to upgrade libraries, upgrade Docker image, upgrade clusters, and so on. And this is a lot of toil under the hood. So
Yeah.
this kind of AI automation, I think that this will be valuable for that.
Yes, so we are not replacing the search engine administrator with AI, but we are not replacing developers either. So you have here the developers and DevOps. So yeah, they are still there. So developers should still handle Docker and all that. Yeah.
Okay, so then it's a wrap.